Good, good. Good to have you with me. Uh,
Yes, sir.
Let me begin first in your backyard because we're going to spread out here as we
Yes,
as
sir.
we continue. But in Mount Vernon, there's a publication called Black Westchester, the news with a
Yes,
black
sir.
point of view. And
That's right.
the headline says Mayor Davis attempts to make history as first write-in candidate for mayor in general election. Now, I need you to bring everybody up to date about that. Mayor Davis lost in the primary.
Primary.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes, sir. He lost the primary. It was I believe it was 4 or 5 people in the primary, and it was Mayor Davis, former Mayor Clinton Young, who was the mayor before Mayor Davis. It was Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson, who is still an active senator, a New York State senator. It was the controller, Maureen Walker, which she's the longest black running controller in any city in New York State. And it was a young brother named Richard Thomas, who was a city council, person. And, Richard Thomas, came out with the majority of the votes. Ernie Davis was, second, and, Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson was third with the majority numbers of the vote.
so now I
And
recognize Ernie Davis's name. So he's been there for some time.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's been there for total. He lost one term to Clinton Young, who was at that time he came over from the county legislator and he ran against Ernie Davis and he beat him. And Clinton Young served 4 years. Then Ernie Davis came back and beat Clinton Young, and he served out his last this last term of 4 years.
Now the brother who won,
Yes, sir.
his name again,
Richard Thomas.
Richard Thomas. Now Richard, how old is Richard Thomas?
He's 33 years old. If he wins the general election, he'll be the youngest. I believe the youngest elected major city mayor, major in a major city in New York State.
Hmm. And he interesting. Now, a little bit about how that happened. What happened in Mount Vernon, and then we'll talk about how the political machine has begun to respond. But
Hmm.
it seemed to have traumatized the machine because everybody who lost is looking for another way to get back on the ticket, right?
Yes, sir.
Ernie Davis lost, so he's going to run as a write-in candidate. That's really, see, to run as a write-in candidate, that's real desperation. That is highly, highly unlikely. A write-in candidate. The young brother who won the Democratic primary, so he's going to be on the ballot in November on the Democratic line. That usually means victory in
Yes, sir.
in
And,
black
and he
communities.
also has the Republican line and the Independence Party line. So
And the,
he independent. So he's going in with um, three party lines. Ruth Hassel Thompson has the Working Families line, and there's another young lady who's a city council person, Deborah Reynolds, who she got knocked off of the ballot for the Democratic primary, but she's on the Conservative Party line in November.
Now, see, that's what I want to come back to. Ordinarily, when it's over from the Democratic primary, it's over. Here,
Yes, sir.
people have responded like, "We can't let this happen,"
Right.
and I just find it interesting that the working parties, the working fam, is the Working Families Party. Is that right?
Right. Working Families. Yes, sir.
I'm
Yes,
just
sir.
finding it interesting that the Working Families Party is not with the Richard Thomas, the progressive candidate, and is as part of that group scrambling to still hold on. I mean,
Right.
we need to have a conversation with
Well,
the
well,
Working Families Party. What is
well,
that
well.
about?
She probably. I mean, Ruth Thompson. I mean, if I think she locked in the Working Families Party before the primary, and a lot of the candidates locked in these other lines before the Democratic primary. And what that does is that just keeps them in the race. So if they come within uh, 100, 200 votes, those smaller lines, if they carry those votes over into the general election, those smaller lines would bring him into election. The last mayoral election, Ernie Davis only beat Maureen Walker by 100 votes.
Mm-hmm.
And she was originally supposed to have the Independence Party line. But the last minute of the last hour, they gave it to Ernie Davis. If she would have had the Independence Party line last election, she would have been mayor.
Interesting. It's interesting. Says something about the electorate, the voters themselves.
Yes.
Because on one level, it is whoever's going to win should have been able to beat whoever else is in the race. And,
right.
And that's how you set out. It's almost like saying, I don't care how many people run. I'm running because I think I can win. The majority of the people will be with me. But some party lines confuse people. The Working Families Party has the posture of being a progressive organization.
Yes.
If I would think that the Working Families Party still has to make some decisions after the primary, it still has to make some decisions about who it wants to support now. Because now it is saying that even though Richard Thomas won, they would still like to deny him the seat. And, as opposed to everybody endorses whoever they want to endorse. But, after the primary is over, you find a lot of political organizations now all come together and support the primary candidate in the general election. That's not happening in Mount Vernon, which is what I wanted you to talk about.
No, it's not. It is a power grab, you say, to have 5 or 6 people running for a mayor of a town that's only 4x4 square miles is very unusual. To have 2 former mayors, a sitting senator, 2 city council persons, and a controller, all going for the same position. And Maureen Walker, the controller, this was her 5th time running for mayor, and she's still losing the primaries. So she's out of the loop because she has no party line. But I think it's right now it's looking at the old guard trying to keep the new guard from coming into play. And Richard's win was a sign that younger people, the people that's in the Black Lives Matter movement, because people might not know, just a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, it was a death in the jail here in Mount Vernon. A mother of 8. She died in the jail cell over allegedly she stole crab legs. So, young people came to the voting booth because they wanted a change. Black communities in Mount Vernon and across the nation are in turmoil. The young people want to change. After a while, I think young people are saying enough is enough. It's just not our fault all the time when they talk about crime and violence. Someone had to create the situation. And when you have a black mayor, black city council, black board of ed, and you having conditions that we have, we can't blame the white man. We can't point at the white man or racism. We got to start looking at ourselves. I think young people have realized that in Mount Vernon.
And they came out to support this young brother, Richard Thomas.
Yes, sir.
And it sounds like the old guard, which is one way to call them, might not be fair to all old people, though, but that old guard is really the political machine. It's right, and it's the old clubhouse political machine. And that machine appears to feel that they are losing more than a race here. That they are losing, as you mentioned earlier, they're losing control. And so they are really scrambling to deny Richard Thomas the mayor's seat. What was Richard Thomas's platform? What was appealing about him, do you think?
Well, I think, for one thing, he was the only candidate that actually gave a agenda on what he wanted to do with the city. It was, I believe, it was like 3 or 4 pages, and he held it high. Like, I have a plan, I have an agenda. The other candidates, even, you know, as senior where they were, they didn't have a true agenda. And this young man, he didn't just speak it; he put it in writing for people to take home and read and show his ideas. You know, from a younger person on what the city needs. And I think another part of it, you know, people was just tired of the same people playing musical chairs, or just, you know, seeing the same people in office for over 20 years.
And that has been the case. I mean, you mentioned earlier how long Ernie Davis had been in office. Say that again.
He's been in office over 20 years, and so has Senator Thompson. She's the senator over Mount Vernon and the northern part of the Bronx, the White Plains Road area, and she's been over 20 years. But you know, she never needed. And what was unique about that, because in her 20 years of being a senator, she never actually needed the Mount Vernon vote, because the Bronx carried her votes. So she really didn't need it. So now, running in Mount Vernon, and for 20 years, not really, you know, showing up, but not really proving to the Mount Vernon people, you know, she got probably the same votes that she would get when she was running for senator.
Now, let me ask you this. That's interesting, though, how the district lines are drawn. Her senatorial district goes into a different county altogether. She's in Bronx County and in Mount Vernon.
Yes.
Wow. I wonder is that legal?
Well, that's how they do it. You know, if you actually look at some of these districts, you know, you'll be amazed how they jump over another city. You know, and it's ridiculous. I don't know who makes these districts up. You know, they call it gerrymandering.
Yeah, well,
they do a good job with it.
We need to find out who Jerry is, because I've seen some of those maps. I've seen there's some districts there, a major portion of the district is in the water. In order to connect Harlem, Lower Harlem. What do they call the Lower Harlem? But in order to connect part of Harlem to a community in Brooklyn with the same ethnicity, I think it's a congressional district, actually goes into the water, and it's
amazing.
It's a major part of it is in the East River. In order to be able to put those two districts together, some of the things that are done by professional politicians to protect their personal interest is really quite amazing.
Yes, sir.
I'm Bob Law. I'm sitting in for Inhotep Gary Byrd. We're talking with Damon Jones from Blacks in Law Enforcement of America. I'm going to talk about Black Lives Matter. Before we move into that, and I want you all to really stay close for this conversation about Black Lives Matter. Just before that, there was a Dallas police chief, I believe, who was